Yeah.
Awesome. So we are going to get started so that we are right on schedule. A couple things. First of all, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining the first of four town halls that we'll be hosting. We're hosting these quarterlies. This came as an extension of our strategic plan. One of the things that many of you or several people voiced when they were filling out our surveys is that they wanted the opportunity to learn more about NWSRA, hear more, dive into our programs and services, allow us an opportunity to really concentrate on specific topics. And so we created the town halls. When it gets to another one of my team members, they'll talk about opportunities for parents to get involved. We have I'm going to say it wrong, Rachel, program advisory
It's a parent
advocacy.
advisory and advocacy committee.
There you go. So an opportunity. So we'll talk about that as well. But I want to start with me, and then I'm going to have my team introduce themselves quickly, just who they are, and then when they get in, they'll really dive in. I am Tracy Crawford. I am the executive director of NWSRA and the president of our foundation, which is SLSF. I've been in the field for 33 years. This is recorded, so now it's going to be out there forever, but I can't lie about it. But for 33 years, and I've been here at NWSRA on 12 going on 13 years as the executive director. I've had the privilege of working at two other special rec associations. So all of my career has been working in community-based therapeutic recreation. Tom, why don't you go next?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Draper, and I am the Superintendent of Marketing and Communications here at NWSRA. I've been here not quite as long as Tracy, about 2.5 years, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Awesome. Andrea, why don't I have you go next?
My name is Andrea Griffin, and I'm one of the superintendents of recreation here at NWSRA. And I have spent my whole career here, going on 18 years. Rachel?
I am the other superintendent of recreation, Rachel Hupsch, and I am just 1 year shy of Andrea and have spent my entire career here as well. I'm at 17 years.
Wonderful. Anne.
Hi, I'm Ann Koala. I am the Superintendent of Development overseeing SLSF, and I've been here 2.5 years now.
Wonderful. Darlene.
Hi, everyone. I am Darlene Negrillo, the Superintendent of Administrative Services. I have been with NW now for 5 years, and before that, I was with NSSRA for almost 9. So I've been in the SRA world for way too many years to remember.
Jessica, are you on here, Jess? Jess isn't on there. Jess is my executive assistant, administrative manager, who's wonderful. Many of you probably know her because if you're trying to reach me, then you've gone through Jess. Okay, so a couple things we want to outline. One, this is being recorded. As many of you know, it's popped up on your screen. We're doing that for a number of reasons. We want to put it on our website so that anyone that missed this meeting, they could still get access to that information. So hope that you're okay with that. Second, please feel free to use the chat. Although I am not good at monitoring it because I can't figure out how to do that and all that. I'm not the techie one here. But my team will be monitoring it and will make sure that we're addressing any of your questions or comments that you might want to make. So feel free to add those. So like I said, this is our very first town hall meeting, and it's being presented by our NWSRA administrative team. Hopefully by the end of this, you will have met all of our different teams in some form or fashion. Next slide. So we really wanted this town hall meeting to be an opportunity for us to outline who we are and what we do and just really get all into you having a better understanding of what a special rec association is. I think a question from Sherry popped up. The person that oversees the collaborative programs, Sherry, is Andrea Griffin. She's the superintendent over the managers that oversee the collaborative programs. So we'll try to answer those as we go. Let's start off with what a special recreation is. You can see up on the screen of how we're made, and I'm going to kind of put some more information to that. A special rec associations are only available in Illinois. Illinois is the only state in the country that has them. That's one of the unique distinctions of Illinois, and one of the things that we're very proud of. Many of you that are either accessing services for individuals with disabilities or providing services, we know that there may not be a whole lot that Illinois is really number one. We're constantly fighting to get more and more and more. But one of the things that we think that they really did well was the formation of special rec associations. To be in a special rec association, it has to be a collaboration that's formed between 2 or more park districts, okay? So once 2 park districts have come together, or it could be a municipality, which means a city, or it could be a village. And there are some special rec associations that are different combinations of park districts, cities, villages. The SRA size is based on the number of communities that we serve. NWSRA has the biggest we call footprint in this area. Out of all, I'm going to say between 35 and 37, we laugh because there's a couple of the special recs that have merged. And, you know, so instead of being individual, they've merged together to provide a stronger collaboration for that community and the service of individuals with disabilities. But the whole reason that SRAs were formed is to mirror the model of a special education cooperative. And if you're familiar with that, NSSEO, for instance, the model is that NSSEO then provides the services, the expertise, the staff, okay, to provide support for individuals with disabilities within the school districts. Okay, so the SRA model was formed to duplicate that or mirror that. So NWSRA hires all of the staff and the professionals that are needed to support the community of 17 park districts, and we provide the services needed to support individuals with disabilities within those park districts. So what are the benefits of NWSRA actually, or a park district being in an SRA? Well, number one, the biggest one is that they're able to, we call it levy for what are called handicapped accessible funds. And yes, it's still that language being used. We wouldn't like it to be called that, but that's where the government, it's still listed as handicapped accessible funds. And so they're able to levy that in addition to the funds that they get for their general operations and their other funds within the park district. The park district gets their funds through property tax dollars. So each one of you, if you own a home, you have a business that's within, you know, you're paying property tax dollars. So that goes to, for us, the major one is the Cook County Assessor's Office. And the park district basically says, hey, we need X amount to support our programs and services. And then they also ask for the additional amount to specifically support individuals with disabilities. So you can only access the handicapped accessible funds if you are a part of a park or part of a special rec association. And that allows you access to, I'm going to say, the outstanding staff resources that we have available for the community. So hopefully that helps with answering that question. Any questions regarding the model? Anything in the chat, you guys, for a special rec? Like I said, we're the only state in the nation that has special rec associations. And so it is a very unique and sometimes difficult. I think later I talk about the budget, don't I, Andrea? Okay. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. So NWSRA has been around for 50 years. So in some instances, that seems like a long time, but really, when you think of some of the park district and other entities that have been around, 50 years really isn't that long. I say we're still learning and growing every day, but we've really moved from the concept of more of a nonprofit type agency to really, we are a business, a government. We call ourselves quasi-governmental, and that we are an extension of our 17 park districts. We do not receive state funding. All of our funds come through property tax dollars, or they're through fundraising, grants, and Ann will talk about that, or they're through program fees. So we're celebrating our 50th year this year, so we hope that you're able to join us in some of those celebrations. We were not the first SRA. The very first one was Northern Suburban Special Recreation Association, which is located on the North Shore of Chicago. Northbrook, Wilmette, Glenview is some of the territory that they serve. Our mission is to provide outstanding opportunities through recreation for children and adults with disability. And that is everything that drives us, everything that we do. And I love that it says outstanding opportunities. We're constantly striving to provide the individuals and the families that we serve the best that we can. Our vision is to be a leading force, creating greater options that enrich the life experiences of the participants, families, and communities that we serve. And I just, every time I read this, I feel something different and something new, but the leading force, meaning that we really, in the staff we hire, in the programs that we offer, in the facilities and the partnerships that we have, we're really wanting to be on the cutting edge of what's to be expected or what's to be available for those that live within our communities. Our core values are teamwork, respect, enthusiasm, collaboration, communication, and diversity. And that was put together by our stakeholders, our staff, our board, many of our participants and families. All right, so next we're going to talk a little bit about our organizational background. And again, feel free to put anything in the chat if you have a question. We are an extension of 17 and park districts throughout the northwest suburbs of Chicago. You can identify an SRA by the first two letters, for the most part, not all of them, of their names. So there is NEDSRA, which is Northeast DuPage Special Recreation Association. There's WD, which is Western DuPage. So it's the early ones use those first letters to identify where they were located in the state, to make it easier for parents and families to identify with where they could be receiving services. Year round, we serve over 3,000 individuals, and I believe that number has even gone up, but 3,000 individuals in our service area. Again, we were founded in 1974. Collectively, we address the financial and social responsibilities set forth by the unfunded ADA mandate. So, in other words, supporting inclusion and access is something that we believe in, but there are not funds from the federal level or state level that we are granted to provide those services. But we believe that they should be, and will always be funded. So collectively, we do that as an SRA model, receiving those dollars from our 17 communities in order to support individuals with disabilities and their accessibility to facilities. We pool our resources and funding to address the need for services and accessible public parks and facilities. We centralize the team of staff. And let me tell you, that is so beneficial. There's many other states that have maybe one, and we'll talk about the level of staff that we have, the qualifications, but there's many other states that may have one, maybe two, what we call CTRSs or therapeutic staff. We have the beauty of having a staff staff of 46. And so we are collectively in the building, and so we can bounce ideas and create those amazing lesson plans and strategies, and then we go out and conquer, I like to say. So we have our central hub, and then we go out and conquer. But much again, like that model of NSSEO, where they have their hub, they're doing their hiring, they're doing their training, and then they send them out into the communities to provide those services. And then together we're able to increase the range and amount of services that we're able to provide for inclusion of individuals with disabilities within our member districts. Next slide. We really pride ourselves on being a leader among our peers with over 10,000 registrations and more than 2,000 programs. And that was just in 2023. And we're already on track to beat those numbers. We've been recognized nationally by our national organization with the National Gold Medal Award, which they no longer give out because they realized that Illinois was the only state that could get them for SRAs. I'm just glad we got ours before they stopped that. But so we're recognized on a national level for the services that we provide and the model. We got our Distinguished Agency Accreditation, which is our accrediting body that comes through. It is a day-long process, but preparation for it is a year. If you've ever gone through the accreditation process, it's a lot, but so well worth it. And it basically says that we not only can say that we're meeting the standards or even based on our score, we ranked above what those standards were, but we can prove it by having a whole set of professionals come out and spend the day, I like to say, turning over every rock and stone to make sure, looking at all of our risk management, how we are staffing, our hiring, how we deliver programs, safety, accessibility, to make sure we're meeting all the state, federal, local, all of those laws and regulations. NWSRA also received a national record from NRPA, our excellence in inclusion. And so, we're among those in the nation that nationally we were recognized for the amount of services and the type and quality of the service that we're providing in our inclusion programs. I want to talk a little bit about the organizations that we're a part of, and we talk a lot about the level of service that we're providing, and I really believe it's because we're part of our professional organizations where we're always out there getting best practice. What is cutting edge? What should we be doing? My staff are always making sure that they have the education that they need to provide the services that we do. So our national association is the American Therapeutic Recreation Association. So that is, and if you notice the therapeutic recreation, I think either Darlene or Rach or somebody's going to be talking about that within our staff and what that means. Our staff are certified, and they are certified by a national credentialing body, and that's our National Council for Therapeutic Recreation Certification. So we have a certifying body, we have our national association, and then our national certifying body. And then because we're community-based and we serve parks and recreation, we're also a member of our National Recreation and Park Association. So we're aware of what's going on within the park and recreation conservation forest preserve community, and we're able to pivot and make sure that they are always thinking about serving individuals of all abilities. The next set of associations, there's the Illinois Therapeutic Recreation Association, which is ILTRA. It's a state membership, and they are a chapter of ATRA, so of that national association. And then we have our state association, which is the Illinois Park and Recreation Association. Within that, there's a branch that is called the Illinois Therapeutic Recreation Section. So as you can see, there's many professional organizations that support what we do and the training that the staff need. Finally, in Illinois, we also have the unique distinction of having 2 professional associations serve us. So IPRA serves the professional In other words, we go there to get all of our education in that as an individual professional. And then IAPD, Illinois Association of Park Districts, serve the agencies. Okay. And so this is where our lobbyists are. They're our advocates. They're the one in Springfield. They're the ones that are looking out for the laws that may directly impact or affect our programs, our services, our staffing. So that we call it our lobbying arm. And for each board, Park District Board, they have elected officials or commissioners that are on the board, and IEPD provides all the training for those organizations. All right, so I want to get a little bit into this new concept and where our programming spaces are and all that good stuff. So before you see an outline of just the map of, we call it our footprint, okay, of all the communities that we serve. And when I started here, one of the main things that came out in our strategic plan was, as traffic patterns are changing, as communities are building and growing, corridors that you used to be able to drive down that might have taken you 15 minutes, now with the number of people that are living in that area, are now people are taking 30 to 45 minutes, going the same distance, depending on what type of day. We really had to evaluate as an agency with our stakeholders and many of you families and our board members, how were we going to continue to serve such a large footprint effectively? Okay, so what we decided is we would divide we divide our communities into regions. Okay, and so what you see, the colors indicate there's 6 different regions. Our next step was working with, and I think some of our partners from Clearbrook are on here, so thank you so much for joining. When we started talking about our Pursuit Adult Day programs, we really sat down with Clearbrook and started to pinpoint the communities where there was a high demand, where we thought there would be the biggest need. And we started to approach those park districts and say, listen, we really need dedicated space for us to do programming for our adult day program and for many of our other programs, because what we were finding was we were competing with our park districts for the same space at the same time. So I'm talking about basic community rooms, use of a kitchen, a gym. And so, obviously, yes, they wanted to serve us, but they also had all these other needs. And so really, we were growing at a pretty fast clip. And to some degree, we were growing to the point we were outgrowing the spaces that we were using, and we were needing to double in program size. So in other words, one program was big enough to have 2 separate programs, but we couldn't find the space to accommodate the 2 programs. So we began to go to all of our park districts, and where you see the hearts are the park district that said, we think we have some space. And so voila, we have the hearts of our community. One of the things that we wanted is we wanted to make sure that the space was in the center of the community, in the heart of those community centers. We didn't want to be in the basement. We didn't want to be in a storefront. We wanted to be in our recreation facilities so that we could also access some of those services. So that was step 1. You see where the hearts are. Step 2, and Rachel, I don't want to take away your thunder because I think you're going to start talking about some of the programming that we're going to be doing. But here are our spaces, and when you start hearing us talking about regional programming. All right, next slide. So our strategic plan, it was called Forward because really we wanted to, after COVID, move forward. Didn't we all? I was just on a call today and someone said, will there ever be a time when we say after COVID, pre-COVID and post-COVID? And, there was a moment of silence, and then all of a sudden, I think it was unanimous, probably not. Because I think years from now, when you look back in the history books, that was a pivotal changing moment for everyone in the world, and those companies that survived, and not only survived but thrived, learned how to manage through that change but move forward. And I really think that's something that we have done here at NWSRA. I'm going to talk a little bit about the strategic plan, and then I turn it over to Rachel to get into the goals. So our strategic plan was in 2021. And, you know, looking back, I think I might have been a little bit crazy to do it in the middle of COVID, but we did. The downside is we did it in the middle of COVID. The upside is we got so many responses because we were all locked in. And so people were like, yeah, I'll fill it out. And so we really got some wonderful feedback from our stakeholders and our participants and families. So for that, I don't regret. As you can see, our strategic plan is for 2022, and this is the last year, 2024. So we will be developing a new strategic plan or moving the goals that need to be forward, and then really talking to you and all of our stakeholders about what do we need to be looking for in the future. We did hire on consultants to help us with this plan, especially during COVID. It was just really difficult for us to do it. We started this doing it from our homes. So the consultants were able to reach out, hold focus groups. They did individual interviews. It was just very, very well done. All of this accessible on our website. But some of the things I want to focus on is I think that it gave us some very strong pillars to work on that I don't think will be changing. It gave us some goals that really we carried through, and many of them we're still doing. So I wanted a strategic plan that would stretch our goals, not that we could check off and go, yep, done this, done this. Now, some of the items we were able to do, but we have a lot of stretch goals that we see, you know, down the road, 5 and 6 years, but they are in the strategic plan. We really evaluate where our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats were, which I think was so important. And we used a different method called SOAR, where we looked at our strengths, opportunities, what were our aspirations, and then if we looked at all that, what were the results going to be? Next slide. We reviewed our mission, vision, and values. And here are the pillars that I'm just so proud of. So financial management, again, with our budget being a large part of it being member agency contribution, which is really tax dollars. We wanted to make sure that we are fiscally responsible for the money that we bring in, and that we are transparent about how we're using that money. Operational excellence is an area in which we talk about how we do what we do. And that's really looking at how we provide our services, the staffing, the mechanism, our risk management, you know, all of those things that we need to constantly be aware of in order to provide those high quality services. Promoting leadership, this is key. Making sure that once we attract those staff, that we're looking ways to create succession plan opportunities for them to move up. So I'm not just hiring you to be entry level rec specialist. I'm hiring you to be a coordinator someday, a manager, possibly superintendent. And by gosh, I want you to be sitting in my seat, if not here, at another special rec. And then outstanding service is really what are we doing to make sure that we're constantly collaborating, we're listening, we're taking in the information from our stakeholders and our board members. I love that cutie patootie. So over the next few years, the document was never static for us. Every year we took a look at it, and as you know, we did a 3-year plan, and we were a little nervous about that. I think COVID taught all of us that things can change overnight, right? And so you remember the days, some of you may remember when strategic plans were 5 years. So when we said 3 years, and really we debated on whether it should be 2. So we did 3 years, and really what we did is each year we evaluated the next year. Okay, so let's look a year ahead and what do we think we need? And I think that's what really kept us on track. We weren't looking at the 3 years. We had, things planned for that, but each year we reevaluated and we were positioning ourselves. We learned how to, I know you're going to hate this word, pivot, and address those changes quickly. So if we saw something we put in the plan was not going how we needed it to, or wanted it to, or thought it would go, you guys were like, nope, that's not what we want. We could pivot and make those changes. And I love the flexibility of our strategic plan. And as I'm working with Rachel and the team to do our next strategic plan, we're going to want that same flexibility. Any questions before we turn it over to Rachel? Nothing in the chat? All right, Rachel, it's you.
All right, and as Tracy kind of already introduced our agency goals, so I'm not gonna read to you all of our things listed on these slides. I'm kind of gonna explain to you, how we create these goals and then what we're gonna showcase in the next slide. So Tom, can you start with the next slide? We'll start with financial management. And from the strategic plan, from everybody's feedback, stakeholders, families, staff, through financial management, it's strategic stewardship of revenues and expenses to maximize financial stability of the association. So then everyone then talks about the strategic goal. So then we have a strategic goal, which can be, overarching, that can last the whole 3 years. And then every year, what Tracy and I do, and all the staff with input, is come up with the objectives to make sure that we're adhering to that strategic goal, and continually moving forward. So as you see on this slide, these are a few examples of some of the objectives that are in financial management. And each pillar also has focuses. So we can go to the next one unless anyone has any questions about financial management. The next one is where we have a lot of goals. Operational excellence was determined to be an establishment and monitoring of internal policies, procedures, and systems to increase efficiency and organizational preparedness. So this basically encompasses a lot of things. And one of the focuses was basically to restore in-person programming. So that one has a lot of strategic goals and objectives in it. But like Tracy said, we did this during COVID. So a lot of it was, how do we get everybody back into the programs that they love and thrive at? So what you are also seeing here in operational excellence, and we have 2 slides of it because we have so many objectives in there, but one that I will talk about, which Tracy was also said it, but she didn't want to steal the thunder, is a lot of our staff are CTRSs, which is Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist. And that is the certification that we have to continually get education for. And also we were trained to do the APIDE process. And so a lot of our staff that are running our programs, they go through the APIDE process, which is assessment, evaluation, implementation of the actual program, evaluation, and documentation. So they go through this full process of all of our programs to make sure that all of our clients and participants are meeting their goals and ensuring that the programs and services that we're offering are beneficial and have a purpose. So operational excellence is where we definitely see a lot. And on here, you can see that the next one coming up would be that we want to host, open houses within our regional program sites to make sure that, families can ask us questions if they have any questions on registration. We're going to try to configure online registration to make it easy for everyone to register. So operational excellence definitely brings out a lot of just preparedness. And, like Tracy said, with our vision is to be the leading force. So we're always thinking about what's the next step, what our agency's not doing, what does the community need? And that kind of wraps up operational excellence. So if you have any questions, you can ask, like Tracy put in the chat, actually. The next one is promoting leadership. And I will say, Tracy, being our executive director, believes, fully in succession planning, and our staff absolutely know that. And usually within, the first couple years, they're able to do a SWOT analysis with Tracy to then, showcase all the different promotions they can have within our agency, to showcase that we actually are invested in them and want to make sure they grow and professionally develop within this field, because we take time and we put in a lot of time and effort to our staff, but we know because we require the certifications that they need that education component, continuing education component to continue on with their certification. So we definitely offer a lot of training opportunities, but then also we do a lot of stuff in-house because we know we have the talent already there. So we like to share that. And then as you see in promoting leadership, we have in there to hold the town hall meetings, which you guys will definitely be able to get a lot more education and awareness about what we do at NWSRA. The next one that we do is, there's another one on promoting leaders, this talks about all of our training manuals that we're going to be updating, and then hybrid trainings for, hybrid trainings for our park district, to learn more about the ADA and how, park districts and SRAs work together to ensure that we're meeting the needs of everyone in the community. The last pillar that we talked about, or that Tracy talked about earlier, is outstanding service. So when we talk about programs and services, so programs are really everything you see in the brochure, and then services, one of them that we know is a extreme need is transportation. So in outstanding services, it's all that extra things that we're doing. It's maybe our extra projects we're working on. It's the dream big, really, for us, is we want to make sure that not only are we providing the best program, but then also families and participants are able to get to those programs, and there's not that barrier to transportation. So in this pillar, it really outlines, how do we sustain transportation? How do we, offer a hub system within the newly established regions to make sure that transportation services are accessible and available, and then just that we are doing our best to make sure everybody in the community is being served and has access to, recreation. Does anybody have any questions over the goals listed here? Obviously, this is just a little snapshot. This is not our full goals, which is a 13-page document. Okay, if not, Tracy, I'll hand it back to you. Oh, we did have one question in the chat, actually. And then, Andrea, I don't know if you want to do it, but Pursuit, it just says, what are the plans for getting nurses and morning door-to-door transportation?
You want to answer that one?
Big loaded question, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I was going to
It's a
talk a little
loaded
bit more
question.
about Pursuit and our goals for it when we get to the slide on collaboratives.
Okay, so hang tight to that question and we will make sure that we address that. Understanding funding, we are unique, and I know a lot of people think that our funds all come from the state, and they do not. Next slide, I love that. I love that little heart pizza. Tom, where'd you find that little heart pizza? That's cute. So let's go back to understanding your tax bill. Okay, so like I said, and I think later, yeah, we do. We'll show you just how much of our budget is from what we call the member district annual assessment. And it's the contribution. It's what they give us of the property tax dollars that they receive. Okay, so if you really look at it, and this was based on, now this was done a couple years ago, so we probably need to do it again, but based on a home that's about $320,000, okay, that home would be paying $582 at this time. That would be going toward the park district, property tax dollars that go toward the park district. And in your bill, you have, school district, mosquito abatement, fire, police, city, if you live in city, village, blah, 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 blah. And then you got park district. Okay. And so for that home that size, in the full year, you're paying $582 in taxes. So that's the piece that goes to the park district to support all that wonderful, program services, swimming pool, golf courses, all this stuff that we in Illinois have become accustomed, right? We like it. I want my walking trail. I want my accessible playground, blah, 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 blah. And then you see this piece. So the rest, those little chunks, that little green piece, that light green, is that lime green piece, for $14.86. This is the portion that the park district can use from that handicap accessible fund, okay, to help them meet their ADA requirements, their accessibility requirements. And then $20 of that is going to go to support inclusion services and all of the rest of the services that we provide at NWSRA. So we receive that portion of it. Somebody do the quick math on it, but what is that? Almost $45? I don't know. Am I wrong? $35 roughly that you're paying in your tax bill that actually is coming to NWSRA. Okay, so we kind of like that. We say that that's about the size of a pizza. I don't know, things have gone up. Can you still get a pizza for 35? Maybe. Yeah, you can. Okay, when there's a deal and you go in with a coupon, okay, you can feed your family with that slice.
Domino's, you get 2 pizzas now for like $20.
Now you get 2. So see, you get pizza and you could probably get a liter of something, liter Coke, liter Sprite, something like that. All right, so let's take a look at the budget and what our revenue actually looks like. So as you can see, 75% of NWSRA, our revenue, comes from property tax dollars that have gone through the park district, okay? But remember, it's not all the property tax dollars. It's the handicapped accessible piece that they levy, okay? So within that little sliver is that levy. So of that piece, that's what we get from our 17. Now, everybody pays a different amount. It's not a flat amount. So out of my 17, we have a formula. So it's 70% that is the equalized assessed valuation of their homes or the businesses, property tax dollars, okay? 20% is based on their gross population. So how many people live there, okay? And then 10% is based on inclusive programming and services that we're providing directly in their park district, okay? And that formula shakes it out so that no matter what the size of my budget is, I'm going to be impacted the same way. So in other words, if I'm large and I have a $300,000 budget, okay, and my bill is $3,000, it's going to affect me the same way as somebody that has a $300 budget and their bill is $30, okay? The reason why we have those percentages, it's not the amount of money, it's the impact that it has on that agency's budget and community. Okay, so then where do we get the rest of it? That quarter. Now, pre-COVID, I'd say we were closer to more of a 70, 68% MDAA, but that's when we were at our full stride bringing in revenue. Okay, we're still in that post-COVID. Really, when you think about it, the mask mandate and really feeling secure that our adults and children with disabilities could safely participate without being a danger to their lives, catching COVID at the time, was in 2022. Do you remember that? They lifted the mask mandate in 2022. So we weren't in our full stride of programming until the summer of 2022. So really, it seems like it's been such a long time, but it really, really hasn't. So if you look at our pie, we've got program fees bringing in about 8.4, transportation 0.7, non-program revenue. That's if we're selling our vans, the used vans. We do everything, y'all. Hey, we're gonna sell it, auction it off. So that's that. And then SLSF gives us a grants over 5.2%. And then miscellaneous that may come in. And we're talking about investments, we're talking about funding that we may receive for speaking. I mean, there's a lot of things like that, but a large part of it is our member district annual assessment. Okay. You're looking at fees and you're wondering, well, wait a minute, you're serving 17 communities. You just told us about this 5,000 number of people. Why aren't you bringing more in fees? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. A program for us, if we were to compare it with the Park District program, they can do a day camp for 200 kids and they have anywhere from a 1 to 10 to a 1 to 8 ratio. Okay. So if they have a camp of 20 kids, let's say, I'm making it easy math for me, then technically they'd need 2 staff and a site director. Okay. 2 staff to deal directly with, my 10 kids and then kids. Okay. Our camp's 20 kids. Rachel, approximately how many staff would we need for 20 kids?
17.
So
And that's really pushing it.
that's pushing it. 17 staff, okay, typically in our camps, we would need for 20 kids. So if we charged the actual direct cost that it takes to run that program, the fee would be astronomical compared to what your local park district is charging for day camp. We believe philosophically that goes against the Americans with Disability Act, which was set forth that says you cannot, discriminate against someone who may need assistance in accessing that public program, or that park district program, by charging them additional amounts because they're going to need an aid or adaptive equipment or blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm watering down what the ADA says, but that's kind of it. Okay. So that's where the unfunded mandate comes in, right? And so when the model was set up, it recognizes that individuals with disability, in order to be successful and develop those skills and work on those social skills and all of those things, social, emotional, physical, all those spiritual, all those skills and areas of development, that we were going to need to subsidize it in some way. We were not going to be able to charge the actual amount that it costs for the program. And we hadn't even gotten to the cost for the transportation, and what it takes to get them to the program. And so the model hence was made that a portion of the property tax dollars would go to support individuals with disability. I think it's no different than when I live in my community. I don't have any kids. I have a furry kid named Maggie, who offers a Labradoodle, but she doesn't go to the neighboring school. But my tax bill says that I contribute money, large amount, to the school district. Okay. When you live here in Illinois, basically, we have decided that as a community, you contribute to those things that make communities the places we want to live, work, play, and grow. Right. And so a part of that, when ADA came along, they said, well, we want to make sure that everyone can live, work, and play in this community. So we're going to need to not only set aside money for schools, mosquito abatement, fire department, whatever all it is, right? Because I hope none of you have had to call the fire department, but I pay for that so that if I need the fire department, they have the tools they need to get to my home. Same thing. We want people of all abilities to feel welcome and as if they belong in their communities and choose where they want to recreate and who they want to recreate with. And so therefore, as a community, we have decided that our approach will be a portion of the property tax dollars will support people with disabilities. So we do not believe that our fees are going to surpass those of what you'd pay for a similar program at the Park District. We would prefer to subsidize it through our property taxes. Next slide. Department and staff breakdown. So we kind of introduced, but I love this picture, y'all. This was just in January when we were receiving our distinguished agency. Do you see those happy faces? That was like, we made it. We made it through. I'm going to introduce you to the organizational chart. And then staff are really going to start introducing each one of their departments. So here's our organizational chart. Hopefully that's not ant font on whatever you're looking at. And you're able to see it. But we, at the very top of the chart, we believe is led by the residents of our member districts. You know, that is you. Okay, you are who we do everything. So ultimately, you're our bosses. You get to tell us this is what we'd like. Here's what we want to see more of. You then elect your park district board. Okay, to make sure that you have a voice at the park district table, and that's our member park district board of commissioners. They then hire the NWS board of directors, who each are an executive director at one of those park districts. Okay, so that's the voice that comes. The park district also has I say backup, but that's not the right word, alternate, if for some reason they're not able to. So the board will say it's our executive director and our superintendent of parks or superintendent of recreation, whoever it is, if they're, so that they always have a vote at the table to speak for and make sure that they're coming to the table thinking about individuals with disabilities that live in their communities. And so I have 17 bosses that supervise me. Yeah, it's fun. If you feel sorry, thank you. Some days, you know, it's rough, but I'm blessed in that they're all professionals and they understand what I do. I directly oversee that first line of purple that you got there, those superintendents, my administrative manager, and then the legal counsel and our treasurer. They directly, although they serve the board, I work closely with them. They don't report to me, which is why it's side by side, but I make sure that I oversee any of our legal needs and would directly go to our board. Here are all the different departments, but each one of the staff will go through their different departments, but we wanted to give you a snapshot of, you know, how we're laid out and how we provide the services that you access. Our administrative team, we have a superintendent of finance position open. So if you know somebody, please send them my way. But here's our administrative team. It's made up of our wonderful administrative manager, who's awful / serving as superintendent of finance, i.e. whatever else needs to happen. You met Andrea, you met Rachel, there's Tom, Darlene, and then our superintendent of finance position is open, and then Ann Koala. All right, I turn it over to Darlene.
Hi, everybody. Darlene again. I'm going to kind of review the areas that I oversee. So the first one is support services. And support services really oversees the programs that are in our program brochure, not including athletics or clubs, but pretty much all of the other programs that we have, they oversee them to ensure that they're staffed, to make sure that we have the right ratios and that the programs are running the way they should. Support services also programming-wise oversees our leisure education programs and our special events. And pretty much all of the leisure education and special events are handled by Eric Ingleson, who is our program coordinator. So he does all the scheduling for that, putting that together, and then figuring out who's going to do those lovely programs to ensure that they are done correctly. For those that are not aware what leisure education is, that is a program where we go into our local schools who request our service, and we will go in and take the class and have them do special activities that they may not normally have to be able to do in the school. And we give schools a certain amount of days that they can do throughout the school year, and we give them a list of activities like a menu, and they kind of go through and pick the ones that they want to do. And then our certified staff go out and take those the kids in those classes to go and do that activity. So it's a really good time for them to get that recreation and leisure in while they're still in the school district. And it's also a chance for us to kind of reach out and say, hey, there's other things available for your child other than just going to school. So sometimes it's that first touch that we have with them to be able to let them know that we're here and we can service them as well outside of the school district. Special events, basic thing, we set up things that we can go and do that are fun. We go to athletic events, you know, going to see the Bulls or going to see the Wolves or something of that nature, going around and going to larger carnivals for the day, or maybe we're going to a museum or going to the zoo or something of that nature. But it's more of those full day special events that we're taking a big group to, so they can experience those things as well if they don't have that opportunity in their daily lives. Ethan, sorry, you can go back 1 second. Ethan Frierson and Shannon Herrick are support services coordinators. So they're the ones that handle all of the programs within the support services area. And they also handle all of the part-time staff for those areas, along with the part-time leaders, our drivers, and our volunteers. So they ensure that they have their schedules and that they know where they're going, and then they know who they're working with and give them all of the information they need to make sure that the programs run very well and that they are working with their participants accordingly. That sounded so professional. I don't know why I said that. Okay, you can go ahead now, Tom. So the next area that I oversee is operations and risk management. So operations-wise, I have Josh, who is amazing when it comes to dealing with our bands and dealing with our facilities. And of course, he assists me with risk management as well. So starting with the transportation piece, we currently have 27 vehicles in our fleet. 4 of those are CDL buses, and that means that they are they're 20 passengers or more. So you must have a CDL license and able to drive them. We do have quite a few people in our agency that are CDL certified to be able to drive those buses. And we also have, we try and make sure that all of our full-time staff are available to do that too. We then have one minivan, one poor little minivan, but that minivan is there for us. The staff use it a lot when things come up and we have to get somebody somewhere, or if they have a small program and maybe they only have 1 or 2 participants, they don't need a big bus, they may use the minivan instead. It is not accessible, but it's smaller if you don't have that many people and they're able to actually get into the van themselves. And then we have 12, if I did my math correctly, that leaves 14 passenger vans that we have, and they're all accessible. We do not, the only bus that we have in our fleet that is not accessible is the minivan. So those 14 passenger buses are the ones that do all of our programming. Now, the nice thing about having that many, you're like, wow, 14, they're everywhere. That gives us the ability to have 2 buses at all of our pursuit sites, which gives them the ability to be able to go out and do programming whenever they need to. So they're not having to come back to the office because all of the buses are kept here right next to us in the lot. So they don't have to come back here every day and get a bus. They have them in their lot. So when you drive by Buffalo Grove, you drive by Wheeling, you will see our buses out there in the lot. You can wave to them and say hi. But every pursuit site has them and has the ability to be able to do what they need to do through their day and not have to wait for a bus and have to have someone send someone to go get one. So it makes it very nice having that amount. And then the rest of those buses are here at our main office where we have them, and then they're used throughout the day, in the evening, on the weekends, all the time to do our programming. And a lot of that is, taking everybody to program, picking them up if they do door-to-door for certain participants, or it's just doing our route, which goes to all of those lovely little spots that Tracy was talking about in all the communities. So we pick up at those hub points to make sure everybody can get to programs if they don't have the ability to get there on their own. So it's very helpful. And then Joshua takes care of all of those buses. They're like his little big children. I don't know what you would call them, but he makes sure that they stay safe. They make sure that they're maintained, that they have all of the state certifications on them, so there's nothing wrong with them. So we know that when they hit the road, they are road ready and they're not going to cause a big issue unless it's something we weren't expecting to happen. Josh also handles facilities, so he is the point person here in the building when it comes to getting facilities for all of our programming. So as Tracy showed you with the map, we do not have any facility space as far as programming goes. So we don't have a gym, we don't have a swimming pool, we don't have any kind of those facilities. So that's where partnering with the park districts helps us out. So we go to our 17 partners and say, hey, we have basketball league coming up, we need a gym. And that's where Josh works with the park districts to figure out where those programs are going to go so we can utilize a lot of our park district facilities, which also makes it easier for families to get there because everybody knows where the park districts are at. And then if we can't get into a park district, then he works with local schools, local churches, or tries to find other facilities that we are able to get into to be able to run those programs. So his job is just making sure that every program has a place to go, and then also has to make sure that we have an alternate. So if it is too hot outside and we have to go in, or it gets too cold outside and we have to go in, we have the ability to move around and not cancel programs if we don't have And then we go into risk management. So risk management for us is huge. Safety is our #1 priority when it comes to programs. When I do new hire orientation, I tell all the new staff that we don't cancel programs just because it's cold. We don't cancel programs because your car may not start, I don't know, but we will cancel a program if we can't run it and ensure that our participants and our employees are going to be safe in that program. That is the main thing. So we have run programs when it's bitterly cold outside. We may not run transportation, but we'll have that program running, so you still have the ability to come and be part of that program. But we want to make sure that everybody understands that we don't just cancel because of any reason, and that's part of that risk management piece, ensuring everybody is safe. With that, that ensures that we're doing audits, we're doing facility audits, we verify that our the playgrounds that we're using are safe and there's nothing going on there. Any facilities that we use, we're checking them on a regular basis to ensure that there's nothing broken, there's nothing on the floors, nothing that can cause anybody to be injured. And if it is, we get a hold of the park district that we're in to make sure that they know and that can be repaired right away. So that is all part of that. Within the risk management piece, we also have PDERMA, which I believe Tracy mentioned earlier. PDERMA is we're very lucky to be part of PDERMA because they are a consortium of park districts that helps us get insurance and get rates on things very, very inexpensively. Because if you take a group of 47 employees in one company and try and get workman's comp insurance, try and get vehicle insurance, try and get health insurance, any of that stuff, you're going to pay exorbitant rates because of the fact that we're so small. So that with PDERMA, we have, I believe they're up to about 118 members now, where they take all of those bodies that work in those park districts, and now we have thousands of employees, and we're able to get those lower rates on all of that stuff. They also assist us with training and ensuring that we stay safe when it comes to certain things. If we see a heighten in certain areas, they will come out and help train us or give us the resources to be able to train our staff to ensure that those things are continued. So if we're having a lot of back injuries, as an example, they will say, hey, here, let's try these things. Let's get these things into effect with your staff, do these trainings so that we can kind of bring those back injuries down. Because what our staff do, they do a lot of lifting, depending on where they're at. So back injuries are not something that we can avoid completely, but we do want to make sure that we're giving our staff the resources and the tools to be able to keep themselves safe while they're doing programs. All right, next. Human resources. Gotta love human resources, right? Nobody likes hearing those two words. But I am a human resources professional. That is what I went to school for. That is what my whole experience as far as working goes with human resources and operations. Those are the two things that I've worked in the most. And being in human resources, especially with an SRA and in a park district, is very unique because we are, as Tracy said, quasi-governmental and quasi-park district. So there's a lot of things that apply to us that may not apply to other people, and there are things that don't apply to us that may apply to regular corporations. So it's really figuring out what works for us and what we can do, and making sure that we're not doing things illegally or we're not doing things that could cause trouble for us. That's that best practice part that we work on to make sure that we keep everything going where it's supposed to. I have Amy, who is on our team. She is our recruitment coordinator. So her job is all day, every day to figure out how to get people in and get them staffed. And as you know, over the last couple of years after COVID, staffing has not been great. People do not want to work, and they especially don't want to work if they have to come in at a certain time. They want to be able to go to work whenever they want, what they call that gig economy right now, where they're going out and getting a job and just, doing DoorDash or Uber or something. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability for you to be able to sit at home and do a program at our park district. You cannot handle the behavior that way. You cannot be part and get that communication going with the participants. You can't work on their goals that way. It's very hard to do it virtually. So they have to be here and they have to be present in order to make that happen. We do have great staff that have been with us for a very, very long time. And that's usually where we find more great staff is they refer people to us to do that. But staffing has been pretty short lately. The last couple months, we've gotten really lucky. We've been able to find some really great staff to add to our team. So our numbers have been going up, and we're hoping this summer is going to be even better with our camp staff so that we're not running around trying to find people to work camp. So this is, one of the biggest things that we have going on outside of the recreation piece is finding staff and making sure that all of our programs are staffed. Because as I mentioned earlier, safety is the most important thing. So if we don't have enough people to run a program, we may not run it for that reason alone, because we don't want to send anyone to a program and there not be enough people there to make sure everyone is safe and being able to do the activity that they were meant to be doing. So that's where the human resources part comes in. And then, of course, the basic HR things that we do where, I handle any employee relations issues and things of that nature. And Amy helps me out with that on the part-time side. We kind of split the difference here, and she handles part-time and I handle full-time. And then in the summer, we just kind of take it all on, because we do go up to close to 600 employees when we hit the summer months. And that is a lot of people to be able to manage and make sure that they have everything they need and everything is moving properly. So that is my areas. If you have any questions on those, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move it to who's next?
Me.
Ah!
All righty. So the first area that I oversee is our lovely front office. The front office team, as Tracy mentioned before, we had over 10,000 registrations last year. So if you've registered yourself or a loved one for one of our programs, I'm sure, had the honor of interacting with one of our staff. They are phenomenal, and they really act as that first layer of support, connecting our participants and families to our staff. So not only do they do a phenomenal job serving our families and our stakeholders, but they do a phenomenal job supporting us here in the office as well. So we have Michelle Paradise as our office coordinator, celebrating like over 30 years this year. So then we have Trisha Snell, who came aboard this past year. And then we have Kelly, who was with NWSRA for a while and moved into a full-time position here. So we're really proud of the team that we have here at the front office. Alrighty. The next area that I oversee is marketing, the fun stuff. So NWSRA offered over 2,000 programs last year. So our team is, kind of lean and mean. So we promote all of the amazing team, all the amazing programs that Rachel and her program development team create through our brochures, through newsletters, through flyers, and all sorts of other materials. So we have our graphic communication coordinator, Danielle Cordoba, and we have a part-time digital media specialist. His name is Seth. And then the last area that I oversee is IT. We have grown over the last 4 or 5 years dramatically. We now have 6 programming spaces, our main office, and technology is increasing in demand that staff need, and then also in also security. So our team here, John Dufford, our IT manager, is really responsible for ensuring that all of our computers and network infrastructure are up to speed and up to par to ensure that our program staff are able to utilize the technology that they need to enrich the lives of our participants. Does anybody have questions on the areas that I oversee? Beautiful.
All right, thanks, Tom. I oversee one of the programming teams, and Andrea and I kind of both are superintendents of recreation, and Darlene talked about sports services. So together we kind of all collaborate on all of the programs and services, but I mainly oversee the internal programs and services. Like Darlene was saying, her team oversees the programs within the brochure, but I oversee the content, and Tom had talked about the program development team. We work to make sure that programs are being offered on, every day, different times, different regions, and ensuring the programs that need transportation, have accessible transportation available. And specifically, Courtney Fesky. She is a manager of special recreation. Her team oversees all of our programs and services. So they all have some sort of programs and services that they do. Her main area is athletics and social clubs. So she is the SOAD, which basically means that she makes sure all of our athletes who go to Special Olympic events and ITRS events, which we talked about earlier with IPRA, that have all the paperwork's in and everything like that. So Danielle and Kate, actually, her name's Katrina, but she goes by Kate. Those are the two on her side. So we do need to fill 3 recreation specialists at the moment. And we're looking for CTRSs. And so if you guys know anybody, please pass them along our way. But we have a lot of internship fair and job fairs coming up that we're going to hopefully snag some of those CTRSs for summer. So we'll move on to the next manager that I oversee. So all of these staff are full-time. Kate Moran, she is one who came with us entry level as a recreation specialist. So she now is the manager of special recreation, and she oversees day camp specifically in the breaks and summer camp. So she has 4 staff under her at the moment: Lexi, Sydney, Jillian, and Kaylee. And they are all have degrees in CTRS, or in therapeutic recreation, and 2 are CTRSs and 2 are just waiting to take the exam in the next couple months. So we have 1 spot open on the day camp team. So we will be running summer with 4 recreation specialists this summer. And we do have 15 summer day camps that we offer. So between those 4 specialists, they do, divide and conquer those camps. And with Kate this year, she is actually overseeing our aftercare program that we have with summer day camp. So those are all the individuals that are, working with all of our participants really closely within special events, clubs, leisure education, day camps, and our general therapeutic recreation programs. So does anybody have any questions over the programming team? Looks like we can continue on.
Perfect. So I get to speak about the 2 departments that I oversee, the first one being the inclusion department. I oversee Victoria Gonzalez, our manager of inclusion services, and then our 4 inclusion coordinators. We are currently down 2 coordinators, so looking to fill those positions. For the inclusion department, our 4 inclusion coordinators in 2023 oversaw or supported over 1,000 registrations of inclusion opportunities for individuals with disabilities within our member park districts, and supported 460 individuals themselves choosing to recreate at their home park district amongst their peers. So in our world of inclusion, we encourage individuals who want to recreate in the least restrictive environment with their peers in their home district to register for those programs within their park district brochure and indicate that they might need a little bit more assistance in order to be successful in that program. A little bit more assistance can mean just additional training for the park district staff from our certified therapeutic rec specialists. Maybe it's us providing adaptive equipment for them, social stories, communication devices, or an additional staff to support that program. Our goal, as we tell all of our inclusion aides, those part-time staff that work in that inclusion setting, is to work themselves out of a job, as we truly want the individual to be recreating in the community recreation programs without that support, or with as least support as possible. Throughout the summer, our numbers grow tremendously, and so do our part-time staff, as Darlene equated to earlier. So if you know anyone who's looking for a part-time summer job, this is a great opportunity as well throughout the school year to work in your backyard at your park districts with individuals with disabilities, encouraging them to have fun and experience new opportunities. We can go to the next one, Tom. The next department that I oversee is our collaborative department. Our collaborative department is a brand new department since Tracy's been here, so it's new within the past 12 years. This department didn't exist prior to Tracy coming. So as we've created and worked closely with Clearbrook to create our Pursuit Community Adult Day program, our collaborative department has grown tremendously. So we have now 2 managers of collaborative services, Katrina and Danielle, and each of those managers oversee 3 coordinators that then oversee our pursuit program at specific park district locations. So we're very fortunate that our member park districts work with us and recognize the need for some dedicated programming space for not only our Pursuit Adult Day program throughout the day, but also our NWSRA programs too. As Tracy shared with you, the heart of the community and all of our spaces, that is exactly what our park districts have given us by allowing us to have that dedicated programming space for individuals within our programs and Pursuit. The Pursuit Adult Day program is a year-round program that serves individuals 21 and over who are transitioning out of high school or who have already transitioned out of high school and are looking for a little bit more throughout their day. Maybe they're holding a job a few days a week, or they are going to school a few days a week, college, or they truly just want to have that recreation adult day experience. They join us at our 6 sites. And I know we had a question earlier, about nurses and door-to-door transportation. So as NWSRA and Clearbrook work together to develop our goals for our collaborative program, our next step really is to evaluate and to get into place that senior programming for our Pursuit clients. For individuals who are aging, they might need a little bit more of a structured day as far as repetitive activities throughout the week, as well as just a slower pace. So there is no model in Illinois or really in the nation currently that we have found for adult senior programming. So we're really working on that and getting that up and running by next year. After that, then we go on and we tackle the next goals that we set, possibly being some more additional transportation added and that nurse component. We do know that the need is there. It's just a matter of us kind of being able to knock all of those goals out within a time frame.
You
Tracy,
know
do you
what,
have anything
Andrea,
else?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
add, I see Sherry saying, using Pace Bus to get to Pursuit in the morning. Is it possible to set up a collaboration? Sherry, we have been in discussions with Pace. The difficulty is where their lines go and they don't necessarily get close to Pursuit. We're facing with dealing with, is it IDOT? Yeah. They don't cross boundaries. Some only are in the village, some only are, so we are aware of the transportation difficulties in the suburb. And it's something Pace sent out, or IDOT, I can't remember, sent out and Darn, I sent it out, a survey, and these were all the things that we brought up. They recognize that we talk to our legislators about it all the time. So it is something on our radar. The difficulty with trying to provide that door-to-door transportation, it's really going to be availability of drivers to do that, when they'd have to start, based on when they could get to the program, cost and feasibility for families that could afford that. And I'm going to say, with Pace, I get it. It doesn't hurt for you as a resident to call Pace and also make that complaint. We're calling as an agency, but as individuals, that's definitely something. I think, she talked about nursing. Did you address that as well? Okay. So that's kind of where we are with that. I know that's not the answer that you want to hear, but that's honestly where we are. We're kind of getting back and going after COVID, and then tackling, as she said, one goal at a time as we move forward.
And Dre, did you see the next comment that's in there?
Intercom system for staff when there is someone at the door. That's our doorbell system at the Pursuit site. So we do have the doorbell system. Also, all of our Pursuit sites have the phone, so you can always call when you get to the Pursuit site, and the staff can be there as well. But if you ring that doorbell, someone should answer pretty quickly.
Yeah, the difficulty, Sherry, I believe that is that We did as much as we could with the infrastructure that we have, but building in an intercom system is pretty expensive, and trying to, get that so that it goes from the door to every place we are within that space. So we do the doorbell system at this point in time, or, calling from cell phone right into the building as well.
All right, Tom. Okay, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about our outreach. Apologize. So NWSRA takes some pride in our outreach. We have our 17 communities we work with. Besides just our member districts, we go within our school districts, within local businesses, and we really want to make sure we're networking and we're getting out there. You can see that we do a lot of partnering with our school districts, and our staff provide a lot of trainings on NWSRA, therapeutic recreation, and just the overall SRA model in all. So we do a lot with training from our staff as well. Flip the slide, Tom. Some collaborative programs that we do a lot with our member districts, as well as some Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies, which is a veterans program that we run. And then we do a lot of programming with some private golf associations. We will kind of talk about it at the end, but we will really get into our programming and services at our second quarter town hall. A lot of our staff go to, once again, lots of expos and events. We cross promotion our park districts and NWSRA, as well as Clearbrook and Pursuit. And our Pursuit clients do a lot of volunteering within the community, as well as a lot of our day camps and Saturday programs when they are in session as well. Go ahead, Tom. Some ways that you guys can get involved if you're looking to get involved. We do have a booster club for our athletics. So that falls under Rachel and Courtney, her manager of recreation. And we encourage all families who have athletes to contact them and get involved through our booster club. Tracy talked a little bit about our PAC, our parent group. And once again, that's Rachel. You can always reach out to her to get more information. Register your sons, your daughters, yourselves for programs. Volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers within our programs, and we're always looking for coaches. So ways to help you get involved or help your loved ones, your other sons, daughters, families, neighbors. And Anne is going to talk a little bit about SLSF.
Absolutely. Okay, SLSF, or Special Leisure Services Foundation, is the nonprofit fundraising arm of NWSRA. So part of that team, as Tracy said, she is the president of SLSF. And then there are 3 people on the team in addition: myself, Liz Thomas, the foundation manager, overseeing sponsorships, and Megan O'Brien is our event coordinator. Next slide. So we are a well-established foundation founded in 1981, and our mission aligns very closely with NWSRA's, because our mission is to exist to support children and adults with disabilities directly through philanthropy for Northwest Special Recreation Associations. So we exist solely to fund NWSRA. So how do we do that? We are primarily events driven as far as revenue. So we have 6 golf outings per year. Now 3 seated events, with our Gold Medal Fashion Show being our largest, which is happening this Sunday. And of course, donations. We also do grants, both state grants like IDOT. We do private foundation grants, and a lot of like smaller community and organizational grants as well throughout the Northwest suburbs. We get quite a bit through sponsorships, mostly business and corporate, and then some small virtual campaigns. Next. So a little breakdown about how SLSF supports NWSRA. We support 5 different, we call them pillars or focus areas. So these are the areas within NWSRA that SLSF funds. So there's scholarships, and this is from last year. SLSF gave $60,000 to NWSRA. Athletics, $40,000, transportation, $45,000, inclusion, $2,000, and general programs you'll see was the largest last year with that, a little over $150,000. So in addition to that, SLSF also funds capital projects. So a good example of that was the 6th programming site at the Hoffman Estates Park District, that Vogelei House. And then this past year, SLSF funded $50,000 toward that accessible greenhouse in Wheeling for a grand total of $347,000 given in 2023. Next slide. So just like NWSRA, you can get involved in the foundation as well. How do you do that? I'll say in addition to these bullets, if you don't already follow the foundation SLSF on social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So please add us because that's the best way to know what's happening in the foundation. But you can volunteer at any of our events. We have company volunteer days, the sponsorship experience. So getting some marketing in as well for your company by sponsoring one of our events. You can donate raffle prizes, come to any of our events and golf with us, or come to a fashion show or the gala or our St. Patrick's dinner in March if you like corned beef, or simply make a donation to give back to NWSRA because we know it's close to your hearts. Next. All right, I'll toss it over to Andrea.
So we thank you so much for coming. We do want to take a few minutes to answer any questions that anyone has. And also remind you to save the date. Tom and his marketing department will be sending out another invite for this, but our next town hall will be Wednesday, May 5th at 5:30 again, 15th, I apologize. And we will be discussing NWSRA programming and services and really digging into what we offer, as well as getting some feedback from you all who attend on what you would like to see us offering to. So are there any questions at the time? Feel free to just unmute or whatever.
Tom, can you flip it to where we see everybody and then without showing the,
Of course.
and then we can kind of see if anybody has questions or anything
Sure.
like that. Hopefully you all found that beneficial. Our goal with these is to really just educate. The more you know, the more you can assist us with ideas, areas of improvement, changes that you like to see. This is your NWSRA. We're here to serve the community. And we can't do that unless we get the input. So we found with the PAC, we went through a lot of this, and you learn a little bit more truly about what the SRA is all about. Like Andrea mentioned, the next one will really dig into what are our programs and services, what we offer, because what we have found is people only know maybe the areas in which they access. So outside of that, they may not be as familiar. If you don't have someone in day camp, then you don't know about day camp and the ages we serve and those type of things. Also, we're hoping that as parents, families, and people out in the community, that you can also help to educate others. So, if they know you've got that information, and hopefully you feel comfortable about asking questions. So, are there any very important? Thank you. You do. Oh, thank you. Continue thoughts on our adults who are aging. Yes. And we hope, Diana, and all of you at the next one, we can really start accessing what does that look like? Because, when Rachel was talking about that, I don't know who one of you guys was talking about that there aren't models out there. There aren't. And what we're saying is there are services out there, but it tends to look like a senior center or a nursing home, and we want something that's community-based, and that keeps them active and in their community, but at the pace that they can move. They don't have to change activities every da-da-da-da-da. I might want to sit a little longer, have my coffee, and talk about the news. So that kind of thing. So yes. Well, like we said, this is all recorded. We're hoping that you got some great information. Thank you for attending. And we look forward to seeing you. I'm not even going to say the date because I'll get it wrong. May
15th.
15th.
15th. All right. Thank you all and good night.